Ever sit down to work and stare at your to-do list and think, where the heck do I even start? Or maybe you spend hours on the wrong tasks, things that feel productive, but don't actually move the needle. While the important stuff gets pushed to the last minute, if this sounds familiar, you're not alone. ADHD brains struggle with prioritization, not because we're lazy, but because our brains are wired for novelty, not order. Today, I'm giving you ADHD friendly strategies to finally master prioritization so you can work smarter, not harder. So, why do ADHD brains struggle with prioritization? Some of it is to recognize that traditional productivity advice assumes that you can easily rank tasks from most important to least important. But for ADHD brains, that's like trying to sort through a deck of cards while they're flying through the air. It kind of reminds me of the first Harry Potter movie when they're trying to get all those flying keys. So prioritization is hard for ADHD because everything feels equally important until it's urgent. Your brain craves novelty, not the boring high priority tasks. Time blindness makes it hard to judge how long things will take, and you either hyper focus on one thing or jump between 10 things all at once, which is super ineffective. But the good news? There are ADHD friendly ways to fix this without forcing yourself into rigid systems that don't work for your ADHD brain. So, strategy number one, the 3 task rule. All you're going to do is you're going to pick the top 3 things you need to accomplish today, no more. I like to keep track of that on my little note card that I have a little stand for that I got off of Etsy. And I put the top 3 things there so that that is front and center. You pick the tasks that are going to make you feel like you were super productive today and the things that you actually need to do. This works because ADHD brains get overwhelmed by long lists, but 3 keeps it simple and actionable. So you can use this by asking yourself, what 3 tasks will make me feel productive today? And you may also need to ask what ones I actually need to do, right? If you finish them, you can always do more, but starting small can prevent that ADHD task paralysis. Strategy number 2, the now, next, later method. So, this is instead of one giant to do list, separate tasks into 3 categories. Have a now list. These are the things that must be done today. So they're urgent and important. And I understand importance doesn't always make it interesting. So that's something to keep in mind. Just because something is important doesn't mean you're motivated to do it. So when you're doing that task, you'll need to find a way to make it interesting if it's boring to you. So you'll have one list, which is things that must be done today. Then you'll have a list that's next, right? It's important, but not urgent. So you can schedule these when they need to be done, right? Then you'll have a category of later, which are good ideas, but not a priority today. This works because it stops the ADHD brain from treating every task as though it is equally urgent. A bonus hack is to use sticky notes or a whiteboard to make this visual. And I'll actually share this. I also sometimes add a bonus category that is little tasks that need to get done eventually that take a couple minutes that I can do while a video is loading, but that won't make me get super distracted. So I actually did this. I'm batching a bunch of videos today, and I did this while I was waiting for the video to be converted from Zoom. And so I went in to ConvertKit, now known as Kit, and I created my weekly email to the people in my program Ascend. That's a task that doesn't take that long because I just have to update some links, less than 3 minutes probably at most. And then by then the video was done and I can get back on. And so if you're going to do that, you can have a list of those tasks as well. Just make sure that they're not things that you could get into a deep rabbit hole in, like checking Facebook or Instagram. All right, so strategy number 3, the dopamine prioritization trick. So, this is pairing a boring task that is high priority with a dopamine booster to make it easier to start. This works because the ADHD brain seeks immediate rewards because we have limited access to dopamine in our brains. So, we need to make dull tasks more engaging. This might be like a work sprint where you play music that has like upbeat tunes while you're doing your admin work. It could be a timer challenge. So you're going to race against the clock to complete a task. It could be body doubling, working alongside someone to stay accountable. Strategy number 4 is the deadline trick. And you've heard me talk about this before. This is all about making time work for you. This is assigning a fake deadline to non urgent tasks to prevent procrastination. This works because the ADHD brain needs urgency to kick into gear, at least some sense of urgency. You've heard me talk about in other videos that we don't want to rely only on urgency to get our brain into gear. And so we also want to make things interesting. And it can help if there's some sense of this needs to get done kind of urgency, not the panic, fight, or flight urgency when we procrastinate, right? But this can kick us into gear so we can create this for ourselves so that it doesn't get to that deadline where we're panicking and like hurrying to get stuff done. So you can do this by setting a reminder for an artificial deadline. So an example could be finish presentation by Thursday, even if it's due Monday. And you would probably want to use accountability, like tell someone your deadline. So there's external pressure because I can already hear in your head, you're probably like, yeah, that won't work because I don't really respond to my own deadlines. About 40% of the population is what Gretchen Rubin refers to as an obliger. And so require external accountability. So if you're going to do this, I highly recommend creating some kind of external accountability. Because the thing is I know you know that if you set a deadline that is the same date that it's actually due, stuff's going to come up or you're going to have ADHD moments where like, I'm pretty sure this doesn't happen to just me, where like, I'll go to do something, but then I'm like, oh, I don't have this and I don't have this and this has to happen first. And so things tend to take longer than I think they're going to take. Some of that's time blindness. Some of it's just because our brains tend to not really organize things the same way. So having that advanced deadline is also going to help. Strategy number 5, the energy-based prioritization hack. So this is instead of forcing yourself into a strict schedule, plan tasks based on your energy levels. This works because ADHD energy fluctuates, and some times of the day are better for deep work and others for easy tasks. So you can use this by identifying when you feel higher energy and then doing higher energy tasks during that time, which is things like deep work, brainstorming, content creation. Then identify low energy times in your day and use or assign low energy tasks to that. Things like emails, admin, responding to messages. And a bonus hack here is you could track when your focus peaks during the day and then schedule your priorities around those times. So you could just do this, like little hatch marks, whatever, on a piece of paper just for like a week or something, just to get a sense of like, oh, when are my high energy times? So if prioritization has always felt impossible, it's not your fault. It's just that traditional methods were not built for our ADHD brains. I want to take you through a quick recap of some of the ADHD-friendly prioritization strategies that I teach. One is the 3-task rule, where you just identify the 3 main tasks that you need to get done to feel productive for that day, and these should be like high priority tasks, right? You can use the now, next, later method, where you group your tasks into things that need to happen today, things that you can work on next after that, and then things that can be done later if you don't get to it. The dopamine prioritization trick, where you find ways to get yourself to do things using enjoyable stimuli like music. The deadline trick, where you give yourself a fake deadline with external accountability for most of us. And then energy-based prioritization, where you're matching your task with your energy level. I'd love to know which of these you're going to try first. Drop a comment below so we can hear what works for you. And if this video helped you in any way, hit like and subscribe. And a bonus if you hit the little bell next to the subscribe so you get notifications of new videos so that you don't miss any ADHD friendly strategies, tools, techniques, tips, and insights from an ADHD woman. All right. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Take care.